Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. This is a special, interstitial episode between seasons where we decided just randomly we're going to discuss the Pauly Shore movies. I would say, the ones where he was the main star, because we already did Encino Man a couple seasons ago. And so I really count the beginning of his stardom as son-in-law. I'm Michael, and that's John, by the way.
Hi, I'm John.
I probably should have done introductions earlier. I did leave one off, though. At the very end of his career, Curse of Inferno. It's free on Tubi if you want to watch it. It's actually pretty good, but it just didn't fit in the format that we wanted to do. We wanted to do the theatrical ones.
Well, he's also apparently the main character in a animated Pinocchio movie, I guess, that came out a couple of years ago.
What is, Pauly Shore?
Yeah.
That's weird. I mean, I know he's been in some movies since, but I just remember, there was that initial run that they had signed him to a 3-picture contract when they did Encino Man, so they already knew that they wanted to continue working with him, which is interesting. So I wonder if they didn't expect him to be the star, or they were just like, well, we'll just have 2 other movies you could be a support in.
Well, it always seemed like he was a second banana, so they were kind of seeming like they would not necessarily turn him into the leading man of stuff, in as much as try and surround him with other people. But then again, son-in-law, he is the lead.
Yeah, flat out the lead. And I think Encino Man did way better than they expected. I mean, $50 million for, it was a $9 million throwaway before Memorial Day kind of movie. It was just like a filler to wait until summer movie came in. And, it surprised everybody. So, they decided to move him up to lead. And Son-in-Law is a really great project because, and it kind of set the format for what he was going to do, is that he's kind of outrageous and crazy, but he was very sympathetic. They hinted at that a lot in Encino Man, but making him the lead, where he's just kind of eccentric, not really a shitty person or annoying, which is a problem that would ruin the movies after he left Hollywood Pictures.
Yeah, because that's the thing with son-in-laws. He's basically just a good-natured goofball.
Yeah.
You don't hate him, and especially because it's a culture clash film where you have his Southern California surfer dude to the extreme weird guy going into these conservative Midwest farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And the family is there to basically just be the reactionary thing to his whimsy.
I still think that the whole family gets something to do, whereas it's not just a generic, give him everything to watch, for the audience to watch, but they actually give a lot to the rest of the cast, I think.
Yeah, and what's kind of funny about the film is, who do you really think is the villain of this piece? Because I'd say it's Rebecca.
Oh, yeah, because she uses him.
Yeah, she is objectively terrible in this entire film. Travis is a dickhead, but, in a way, he's reacting appropriately, I guess, up until, the bachelor party thing, but he's kind of coming in doing, I'm proposing to my girl. Wait, she brought along this thing.
Yeah.
and then he announces weirdly that they've already, proposed, and it's like, you have a hard time, if you really think about it, hating Travis until he, roofies the, him and the girl he's sleeping.
Right, Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
He's a scumbag, sure, but then, it's like until that point on, he's not necessarily really the villain, as much as, again, like I said, Rebecca, who just uses Crawl to escape what she was expecting, she saw coming, instead of just being the grown-up and going, I've changed. I'm just going to create this elaborate fantasy to fuck around with everybody and put this, my well-meaning best friend in the most awkward situation of his life.
Yeah, it's she's definitely a user, and thank God she has a turnaround. I mean, it's kind of predictable with the movie. There's nothing really groundbreaking with this at all, but I love the fact that it just they welcome Crawl later in the movie, and they start talking like him. And I thought it was so funny because Lane Smith is like known to be like the the most like ultimate waspy guy during this era. If it's a rich, powerful white guy, it's him. And just having him talk like, "Let's get some grindage on, buddy." I never get tired. I'll say this: Pauly Shore is tired of people doing that back to him because we went to Comic-Con a few years ago where they're doing a panel for a Goofy movie. Every single fucking person that got up to talk to him didn't actually talk to him about anything. They just did his like impersonations to him. He's like, I'm like the 12th one. He's like, you know what? I gotta go call my agent and tell him this is a huge mistake.
Yeah, well, I remember not reading, but listening to an interview with him a couple of years back, and it really surprised me because he had put on this character for so long that you do kind of forget that that's not necessarily who he is when the cameras are off.
Right.
It's like he knows how to play to the camera in that persona, and you're so familiar with it, and then you just kind of start listening to him talk about it's like it wasn't. I don't want to just like the craft of film or anything like that. He was talking about comedy. He was talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and it was interesting to listen to him talk. And at no point is he ever, yeah, buddy, or anything like that.
Yeah, it was just a character he started doing on MTV that took off. And I remember they tried replacing him. Do you remember Randy of the Redwoods?
I don't remember Randy of the Redwoods, but I do remember a few of those DJs that, were in, like, kind of not necessarily trying to do him, but in that same vein at the same time.
Yeah, well, there's always, like, they seem like to be pushing eccentric characters because they had, I can't remember, he played Artie, the strongest man in the world on Pete and Pete. I mean, he's a well-known actor now, but remember he was, like, the Frank Sinatra promotional guy, and they had Dennis Leary doing commercials.
Yeah,
and whatever that greasy character that the cab driver with the big glasses and really greasy hair and always turn around towards the camera and talk to you while he's trying to drive.
I'm sure if you played it, I would immediately go, oh yeah, that.
Yeah, Donald Logue played him, but I can't remember the name of the character. But I'll send you some of these because after that broke out and Pauly Shore left, they were like, well, you need a replacement, and it never stuck. I mean, even they had that fucking weirdo that very first year of audition to be a VJ. Do you remember? And they had Dave Holmes, and everybody's like, well, Dave Holmes is clearly the one that's meant to be a VJ. But look at this tall scarecrow freak show, Jesse. Jesse
Camp? That was the guy I was thinking of. I'm going that weirdo.
Yeah. And so they tried replacing him for years, and it haunted him because if you watch some of the movies he did before this, where he played much smaller roles, he's not so much the weasel. But that would haunt him for years. And I remember he stopped making movies. And I don't necessarily think it was because he couldn't get another contract. A lot of comedians do direct-to-video movies for years. But I remember he did that TV show on Fox that only lasted like 13 episodes called Pauly, where it was quite a bit different.
Yeah, looks like I remember that last film. It was Pauly Shore's Dead.
Yeah. Well, and he did a couple in the last few years where he kind of recaptures that because it looks like he needs some money. But yeah, Son-in-Law really, I think, is the peak of that personality. And you can kind of see with the next film, In the Army Now, that it was time to change things up. He cuts off his hair, he puts on a bunch of muscle, and he still has... every movie has a character.
Yeah, like Bones or something.
Yeah, okay,
like
so Bones is the one in the Army Now, and Squirrely is the one in Biodome. I can't remember what the one in Jury Duty is. I don't think
it was Tom Collins.
It was what?
The character's name was Tom Collins, like the drink.
Oh, okay.
But it calls him Tommy.
Okay. So no animal nickname in that, but In the Army Now is probably the one with the biggest budget and best production value. It's for me, it's my favorite one, but I can see why it was kind of the end with Hollywood Pictures, they probably said, well, we got nothing else to do. Give this guy that is different. Because essentially he still is playing the same character in the Army now.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is that, okay, he and Andy Dick he convinces Andy Dick to go and join the Army with him, Army Reserve, as water purification specialist because, they don't understand the need for purified water in a combat situation or even, pay attention to any of the political climate of the time. So, of course, they would end up going to the Middle East to be water boy.
We're the water boys.
And it's at this time we also had Lori Petty, who, oh man, such a especially in the string of films in that time, just one of those people that just might fell in love with on screen.
Yeah, I mean, she's the best part of this movie.
Yeah, she's the most fun. I feel bad for David Allen Greer because his character is written so inconsistent.
Oh, yeah. And
he tries. You can see that he is really trying, and he has absolutely nothing to work with. And you can't see the dead in his eyes, sort of thing, but it's that he's just so annoyed in this film the entire time because he isn't allowed to play.
Right. Well, he was always the best part of In Living Color, and at this point, I believe I'm pretty sure he was gone from In Living Color for the last season, and he had just done Blank Man, which, holy fucking shit, wow. I can't believe that everybody's like, yeah, let's do this. What the fuck?
I genuinely would like to see it again just to shake my head at why did I do this to myself? Because I remember seeing that, not in theaters when it came out, but when it hit video. And at that time, I definitely was too old to see it, because that was 94, so I'd been like 13 or something like that. But it's like, even at 13, I'm sitting there going, why did anyone think this was a good idea?
Yeah, it is so poor taste. But, and this opened up almost like the same exact time as that too, so it must have been weird for David Allen Greer. But I can see him signing up for this just because it gave him something different to do. Not a lot of people get to do war movies, even like the comedy stuff. And I think everybody secretly wants to do a war movie and a Western. It just seems like, the two genres that kind of fade away. This is like the beginning of that whole era of military comedies that were never really that successful. Do you remember there was Renaissance Man, I think was the first one.
I love that one too.
I've never seen it, and I keep waiting for it to be on sale. So sadly, we didn't get to do it for this episode. And then there was this, and then there was a small break, and then we had like Down Periscope, Sergeant Bilko, and McHale's Navy. I feel like there's another one in there somewhere, but all of them just really didn't do very well.
Well, like McHale's Navy and Sergeant Bilko were already also known quantities.
Yeah.
Because their TV things. Down Periscope was just, kind of there. It definitely felt like they wanted to do a Stripes-like film, but not commit to that. I want to say this was also probably, I think this was originally more of an R-rated film.
I can see that, yeah.
And it got cut, and things got cut out, not necessarily filmed, but cut out to make it more PG-13. I think it's PG at this point. But one thing, I'm curious, because I'm torn between if this is overly homophobic or weirdly should have been homophobic and yet comes off as not.
Yeah, that's the thing. It always feels like Pauly Shore movies play around with that because there is a bromance in Encino Man, clearly. They don't really say anything, I don't remember, in the Army, or Son-in-Law, but in this one there is, but there's definitely a ton of it in Biodome. I mean, if you ask me about Biodome, I would say, those two fuck. they're bisexual.
Totally. But with this one, it's because there was the Army's don't ask, don't tell policy. Eddie Dick and Pauly Shore are trying to get out, so they're pretending that they're gay lovers. And I'm torn because in some ways it feels like the commanding officer isn't. I mean, it's obvious he knows that they're full of shit. They're trying to get out, and so he's making. basically tells them to kiss each other to basically prove to me that you're gay. Which then and then they can't do it. Thus, kind of like the slightly homophobic angle of two gay men kissing.
Yeah, well, if you ask me right now, oh, hey, would you like to go into the military where you can get filled with bullets, or you just want to smooch a guy once? Yeah, I'm smooching the guy once.
Yeah, and well, part of it really does feel like, where how the actor who's playing their CO is playing that is he doesn't necessarily care if they're gay or not. It's a weird reading that I got from it watching it this time around, where it almost feels like he would have been okay with that, even if them being kicked out. But he knows they're full of shit, and thus he's basically just forcing them to make themselves uncomfortable. They really are going to commit to leaving. It's like, all right, prove it. Don't pretend that you're something that you're not. And it's like, I don't know if I'm sitting there trying to figure out if that's just 90s homophobia, or was there actually something there that I'm now seeing?
Right. Well, wasn't this at the very beginning of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell?
I think it was into it a little ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. You watch things, and as you get older, you start seeing things different ways.
This one feels a lot of improv was thrown into this, but also if you look at the writers, Fax Barr and Adam Small, they would work with Pauly over the years, and they were the guys who ended up being the showrunners for Mad TV. And I can see like they were probably hired at the last minute to take the script and skew it more in his voice.
Yeah. And I don't know. I like this one, but I also say that of all of his films, this is my third favorite and last favorite of what he did.
Yeah. This is the end of also the Brendan Fraser showing up in a cameo as supposedly Link.
Yeah, he just keeps showing up as Link, and he's, I guess, apparently Link becomes very competent and becomes a decent American soldier. Who knew?
I wonder how they got his birth records. There's a military leader at the end that I really enjoy. He's like one of those blocky guys played by Art LaFleur, and his tone on the walkie-talkie just kills me. Tell me to shut up one more time. Shut up! The next one is where you could see the wheels had fallen off. Now, apparently he did not continue his contract with Hollywood Pictures for numerous reasons, because A, they paid him pretty low. That was part of his contract, but they gave him better projects. And then he got a huge payday to do Jury Duty, which wasn't a TriStar picture originally. It was an independent production that would be picked up by Triumph, which was a weird subsidiary of TriStar, whatever. And you can see the budget's much higher for numerous reasons. A, because it's now in the city and there's tons of different settings or whatever, and the cast is pretty large. But this was when he finally got a big payday. And I gotta say, this is where he made a bad decision. I remember seeing this in theaters going, oh, this doesn't work at all. No.
I definitely didn't see this one in theaters, and yeah, this is probably, of the films that we saw, this is definitely the worst one.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But that's a narrow margin considering Biodome. But part of it is, especially with the humor in this film, it tries every now and then to do Airplane style.
Yeah, that's the one difference between all of his movies, that it has kind of a parody element.
Which it doesn't really fit. And I know going into any comedy, you don't necessarily need, you don't have to leave a sense of realism at the door. But let's be honest. For starters, you can't, and I haven't been on too many, actually being called in physically to jury duty very many times, but I don't think you can just wander from courtroom to courtroom and pick the jury that you're going to be on.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think that's how it works.
You usually show up once, they turn you down, and then that's it. You fulfilled your duty by showing up.
Exactly. And then by him getting on this thing, on this jury, by day 2, he would have been kicked out.
Oh, absolutely, because he was a disruptor, and he was asking questions that he shouldn't be even interrupting, period.
And by that point, it's like, especially the penis envy thing, there's no way he would have lasted to the end of the trial. They would have been done with it. And it's like, it's hard to watch a film where it's set in a very, very strict rules thing that can easily be, altered, with the disruptor, and no one did anything about it. Really, just
the second he showed up on the television dodging that little thing promoting the hotel, he would have been removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, we both, yes, dear listener, we do know it's a comedy. And it's not real. But there's a certain amount of, accepting, your disbelief that it becomes hard at times.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest problem in this is, just like in Biodome, his redemption is completely insincere. I do not believe it whatsoever. He's an a-hole, and all of a sudden he becomes like this servant of the community or whatever, trying to get this innocent guy off. And that, story-wise, that's believable, but his character is not.
Yeah. There's nothing about this character that is really redeemable. I would argue a little bit on the Biodome side. Not a lot, but I would argue a little bit that there's a little bit more redemption that I can accept on their part.
I think it's so funny that the director of this, showed his reel or whatever to Lorne Michaels, and Lorne Michaels said, "Yes, you get to direct Night at the Roxbury." Huh?
No, that makes perfect sense to me, because I hate Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah, I like it, but it's just weird that Lorne Michaels would pick him, of all people.
Well, I'm sure that was not his first pick.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. I'm pretty sure he was a director on the Ben Stiller show, and that's probably what endeared him to him.
That would probably have helped his case more.
Yeah, the homophobia, transphobia, or whatever you want to call it in this one, is odd, because at some points they're like, "Oh my god, it's a man!" And then all of a sudden, like Pauly Shore, his inconsistency with like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna fuck you now," and then Pauly Shore's like, "No!" Ooh.
Yeah, it's like,
he really muddied the waters on what he was trying to say with it.
Yeah, because this is just not a good movie.
Yeah. The final film of this group is Biodome, of course, the last theatrical release of his. I also saw in theaters.
I don't know if I did or not. I think I saw this in theaters, but then part of me goes, I think I saw it on video, but I genuinely can't remember.
This is the end of his run, obviously, because it didn't make anywhere nearly as much money. I think people were tired of his shtick by this point. Plus, the last script was so bad, and you dumped this in January, and that's gonna be a problem too. The thing that worked for the Pauly Shore movies that were with Hollywood Pictures is that they were all summer releases, so that can play every single day to kids that just don't want to be out in the heat, So you have like a month. Here you have like a weekend, maybe 2 at best. No one's going to travel to the theater in the snow to see this, And it's kind of the curse of also like the Cheech and Chong movies, where it was too much repetition of the same thing. But I will say this, unlike Cheech and Chong, as bad as they are sometimes, they still have legitimate plots.
Yeah, this was barely anything hung on a plot, and what really hurts this film is the fact that both our heroes, Stephen Baldwin and Pauly Shore, as well as their girlfriends, are shitty people.
Oh yeah, absolutely fucking stupid, annoying pests. I mean, this is like just unredemptive, annoying crap from them.
Yeah, it's. I will say, I will give the last third of the film where they have the redemptive thing is the better part of the film. It finally, I almost want to say, figures out what it is by that point. But you're an hour into the film, and by that point, it's it's like, why have I not walked out by this point?
Yeah.
But I will give this: William Atherton is the best thing in this film.
Oh, absolutely. He is unhinged and wild.
And just he's so much fun to watch, especially when he goes crazy at the end. And again, like I said, that's partially where everything finally clicks for me as a film. But you can't really enjoy Stephen Baldwin and Pauly Shore's antics in this thing because it just. Nothing that they do is funny.
No, there's the only thing that I laughed hysterically at, and I still enjoy, is when they get into the gas.
Oh, and he acts like a duckbill platypus.
Yes, duckbill platypus is an inside joke with me and my sister ever since this came out. I don't know why I love it so much. Yeah, the rest of it, especially as I get older, I'm so exhausted with their bullshit, and I'm like, you guys are fucking assholes. You're derailing. But I also don't believe. Was it a time lockout and they couldn't let them out? Is that it?
Yeah, and the entire film, they're stuck in there, hermetically sealed for a year. But yet, in the entire time that they're there and fucking around, they don't notice that there's a key in one of the doors, like one of the windows, just randomly there that they can open and walk out. Like, I don't think if you had a place that well sealed, you would have an easy escape hatch in the side with just a simple key lock.
Right. I still think that they could have just overrid it and let them out and start over again. But, you wouldn't have a movie then.
Well, they could. That was a plot point, and the fact is, because they had so much money built in to this thing, and William Atherton demanding that they don't do this because of science, they created the bullshit reason of chaos theory. But that is brought up. But yes, ultimately they would have everyone could have just sat there and went, okay, we're going to delay this a week. We're going to clean this place, top to bottom, and then we'll start the experiment anew.
Yeah, I think it's funny is the guys who produced this would, based on, I don't know, this movie or what, but were soon given control of Orion Pictures, which MGM had acquired during their bankruptcy. And yeah, if you see Motion Picture Corporation of America, they really only had one hit movie, and that was Dumb and Dumber, which made so much fucking money on such a low budget that, they got funded for so many things, like they did this and Beverly Hills Ninja and stuff like that, and all of a sudden MGM's like, give them Orion! Why? No one gave a shit about Orion. They put out like 6 movies, that was it.
Well, sometimes you fail upward.
Yeah, well, I guess Dumb and Dumber really did make a fuck ton of money. I'm trying to see if they had any other hits during this time, and everything else is just Kingpin. Okay, Kingpin fucking rules. That was produced by them. But other than that, nothing really of note that I would say, yeah, give them a studio. Boat Trip? No.
Yikes.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, they're still making movies, but now all they do is make movies for fucking Hallmark Channel. Yuck.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I don't understand why Hallmark Channel, like I was saying earlier, Hallmark Channel used to be a place where, well, not Hallmark Channel, but the Hallmark production company. They did Lonesome Dove. That was like their debut. And for like a decade, they did really high-end network TV movies and miniseries. And then one day they just said, fuck this shit, let's do garbage on their own channel. Well, who does that?
Oh, Lordy Lord.
All right, so that is the end of this episode. Of the 4, what is your favorite?
My favorite is Son-in-Law.
Yeah, mine's in the Army now, but I understand that Son-in-Law is the better quality movie. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the director also controlled all his improv. A lot of these movies, I feel like just let the camera sit. It's the curse of what Will Ferrell suffers from, is when they just say, just let him go and film it or whatever, and then you're like, oh, you should have tightened this up a lot.
Yeah, there's a thing with some people can improv. Some people can improv very well, and then there's everyone else who they just turn the camera on and say act, and just let us see what they did.
Yeah, I think the thing is about the Biodome boys is that all their setups and their little things that they play around with are fucking stupid. Like, it's not entertaining. At least in the Army now, like, the improvs he has with Andy Dick are at least amusing.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between those two films, and even just simply how the actors play off each other.
Well, yeah, and also Daniel Petrie, the guy who did In the Army Now, was he had a long history. He'd already directed a bunch of movies. He did Toy Soldiers, which we highly enjoyed. But the guy who did Jury Duty and Biodome, those two guys, they were brand new to film. So it felt like one of those things where Pauly Shore chose them because he could just go, hey, I could have you fired at any moment, you know?
Yeah, or it's, I'll give my best friend at the moment a job.
Yeah, it doesn't work for him. I think they really did him in. The Curse of Inferno is the one that was the last of his MGM contract, and that got sold to HBO. It is out there. It's actually pretty good because he almost ditches everything you know about what Pauly Shore was doing at the time, and it has a little more of a serious edge. It's about a heist gone wrong, and like I said, it's free on Tubi, and you should check it out. But we just didn't get around to watching it because I didn't even know it was free until like 2 days ago. So whoops.
Yeah, that would have been nice to have known, because I would have definitely been interested to see a far different Pauly Shore type film.
Yeah. The anything you want to promote before we go?
Actually, not much. Currently, I'm not necessarily in between social media sites, but we are watching one social media site collapse and burn upon itself, and another one that I'm on. But it's run by two people, I think, at the moment.
They need to hire some more people, because that's where everybody seems that we know in our groups is going. Because it seems like now that the social medias are all split up, they're all very specific to certain things. Like Post seems to be like news people, political people. Hive seems to be where all the movie nerdy people are going. What are the other ones? I feel like there's two others.
There's Mastodon, which I
fucking what? I tried too. I don't understand how that works. Is each specific server focused around a different topic? I don't understand that one.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I gave up in just trying to set the damn thing up.
Yeah, and we're watching, like I said, a psychotic man baby who doesn't know what he's doing, thinks he knows what he's doing, lying about everything he's doing, and we're watching Twitter burn to the fucking ground. So that's going to end eventually. I mean, I keep thinking I can get away from it, but I'm like a junkie where I constantly need information feed. I need to talk to my friends, and not all of them are over on my other ones. Instagram is just pictures. Yay, you can make a comment at best. And Facebook, well, that's just where all your friends and like your people who know you in real life are. So it's a different vibe.
Yeah, my Facebook is my own. I don't necessarily share that beyond.
Yeah. I'm not doing that either. Fuck no, that's my private shit. So that's it. No twitching?
No, I think I'm done with Twitch, honestly.
Yeah. I wanted to do it, but I find myself playing these old school games on the Raspberry Pi, and I just don't have the patience to continue because some of these are fucking beautiful games, but they're brutal. Or they're really entertaining, but it gives me motion sickness because of the way the camera works. So I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I work too much to actually have a scheduled time to sit down and play Twitch.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty, well that's it. We'll be heading into the 1994 season any day now. Now, I would say please be patient between 93 and 94, but I recorded so many fucking episodes in preparation of taking a break. I still have like 7 sitting in the in like the memory file to load up later, so we're good. You're not going to notice a break. All right, bye.